The founding date of the African National Congress became a strategic tool for the party to communicate its plan of action in the 1970s. This was a project by the ANC in exile in defiance of the white supremacist minority government and in a bid to liberate the country from the shackles of apartheid. The first January 8 statement was issued in the early 1970s. There were gaps in between, but in 1979, the day consistently became more than just an anniversary celebration. Fast forward to 1994, the mission of the ANC and other liberation movement in the country to end apartheid was accomplished. Then Party President Nelson Mandela delivered the annual statement themed "The Year of Liberation for All South Africans." This was in anticipation of a historic election victory. Mandela delivered more than this during his presidency, all of them with political sloganeering that communicated the party's intention and victories while in government. Political analyst Angelo Fick reflects on the significance of the January 8 event in post-apartheid South Africa.
I think the expectation shouldn't be that the January 8th statement is a delivery of policy of where South Africa will go. It is a delivery of an assessment of an organization that happens to be the organization of government about where it is and where it wants to go. And in that sense, its promises are mostly internal, they're not external. South Africans would be better placed to look to the State of the Nation address to see what it is that government plans and the ANC as government plans for them. In terms of the January 8th statement's importance, it is for its internal constituency that the party measures itself, and that because this is now a public document, many people see it as a precursor to the State of the Nation.
When President Thabo Mbeki took over from the first democratically elected president, South Africa was still facing many social challenges, and the majority of black South Africans bore the brunt of those challenges. Some argue it was too early to undo the injustices of apartheid. Mbeki's January statement dwelt on African unity, addressing poverty and strengthening democracy, although he didn't complete his term due to party internal rifts. But one analyst believes the ANC needs to intensify its campaign of addressing the country's burning issues.
If the ANC wants to start to win back the credibility it has before, it has to deal with the biggest problem facing this country. And the biggest problem facing this country is that we have an economy which is condemning millions of people to poverty, which is creating realities in which even middle-class people are battling. And what we need from the ANC, if it's going to regain that credibility, is that it needs to have the same vision, the same commitment to dealing with that problem as it has when it dealt with apartheid.
As we mark 105 years of this glorious movement, the African National Congress, and indeed the continuation of the National Democratic Revolution, the ANC has remained resolute in our determination to build united, non-racial, non-sexist, democratic and prosperous South Africa.
In 2017, under President Jacob Zuma, the party was still dealing with the challenges that existed in 1994. But the question is whether the ANC's achievements in uplifting the lives of South Africans are overshadowed by internal squabbles and rampant corruption.
The ANC has been unable to deal with the biggest problem facing the country, and that is that many people are excluded from the benefits of the economy. The only way they can get into the economy is by joining political parties and political party branches and hoping that that will give them the economic benefits which the market can't give them at the moment. Until we fix that problem, there's going to be massive corruption within the ANC and any other political party.
We shall renew our focus on building a non-racial society in which black poverty and white privilege are consigned to the past, replaced by the respect, solidarity, and non-racial equality.
The January 8 statement stems from a tradition of a liberation movement, but the ANC had to adapt from being a liberation movement to a political party in government. It's engraved in minds of many as the leader to democracy. How has it fared as a governing party in the face of unemployment, corruption, poor infrastructure, and social divisions?
It was a way of keeping the ANC's vision alive for those who would receive the January 8th statement on an annual basis. It was also a way to chart the year ahead for members of the party and for people who were supporters of the party to see where it would go. When it comes to post-apartheid South Africa, what I think it has become is a way for the party to measure itself in terms of what goals it set itself for the year, in between elections, particularly and in between its national general conferences and its national policy conference and its national elective conferences.
President Ramaphosa's assumption of the highest was seen as the new dawn. Ironically, it coincides with a time of darkness at one of the country's crucial state-owned companies, Eskom. South Africans experienced what's arguably the highest level of power cuts in 2019, but the president has acknowledged the country's challenges, including the exclusion of the majority of people from the economy. And that same economy is also facing pressure to create jobs.
Now coming here to Kimberley.
This week, in the build-up to his January 8 statement in the Northern Cape, Ramaphosa urged South Africans to be hopeful of a better future. But for now, many South Africans will be watching if he inspires any hope when he delivers yet another plan of action for the party. Ntlantla Kgatlhane, SABC News, Johannesburg.